We're now connected with COVID-19 Task Force spokesperson, Ibu Siti Nadia Tarmizi.
Morning, Bu Nadia.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Always good to see you.
Always good to see you.
So this is great news. As we know, the latest variant of COVID-19 or BA2 or Omicron is fast becoming a concern as these restriction policies have started to be eased. So what preventive measures have the government taken in light of this situation?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that we still use the evaluation of what we call it the PPKM level to be as a tools for monitor at the districts and the province level. So with this PPKM level indicator, we are evaluate how about the response of the pandemic, for example, the positivity rate, the testing, the tracing, and the death rate, and the number of cases to be treated in the hospital, including the number of positive cases. With this, of course, currently we know that mostly there is none of district or the province at the fourth level, mostly in the second and the third level, and currently is moving to the first level. As we are already know, the first level will be mostly the activities can be already recovered.
Oh, very interesting. That's good news, certainly, because, 2 years in a row, we've had a very unique Ramadan experience. But this year in particular, the government has also allowed us to, resume the Taraweeh prayers in the mosques, and of course, to also do other prayers and just activities surrounding the mosque. So are there any restrictions regarding the number of people who are allowed to come for that? Or is there a recommended time limit, perhaps, for a Taraweeh to make sure that the health protocols will be in place?
Yeah, beside the PPKM level, we are strengthening the health protocol as we are is some of the current activities at the community level. For example, for mudik, what we call it as our tradition. After Ramadan and at Idul Fitri, currently the government already allow to have mudik for us to be with our relative in a hometown, but with some condition. First is if you already have the booster, you do not need to have a test either PCR or rapid antigen. But if you only have the first shot or the second shot, you need to have the laboratory testing during the your travel to your hometown. The second one about the activities for the Ramadan, for example, Tarawih prayer. Currently, we know that we in certain place in the public place, including the prayer place, we know that we already lifted some of the health protocol. For example, there is no need to have a distance between one prayers to other prayers, but sure, we still need to keep our mask to be used with the standard.
Okay. So, Bu Nadia, obviously Taraweeh prayers are not the only activities taking place throughout the month of Ramadan. One of the activities that we Indonesians like to do is to go eat, and to go eat in groups of people. We call it buka bersama, or breaking fast together. Now, when it comes to restaurants and F&B venues, do they need to limit the number of people who can dine together for this buka bersama?
Yeah. So same with the prayer activities. If your cities or your district or the province at the PPKM level 1, it means that the capacity can go up until 100%.
Okay.
So there is no more, like I mentioned, the distance, or you have to limit into the certain capacities. Only if we are no, and the PPKM level 1 is only for wedding ceremony ceremony, that's still limited up to 75%. But for the prayers activities, for breaking fasting together or eating at the restaurant, if the PPKM at level 1, which means you have meet to certain criteria, including the coverage of the vaccination, you don't have any limitation on the capacity.
Okay.
Well, that's certainly
Good.
good news for a lot of people. But just to add a question, this is like a never-ending cycle during the pandemic. I feel like every time there's a new variant, it always comes close to Ramadan/Lebaran time. So just out of curiosity, what can we expect from this particular, from the BA2 variant? Is there any concerns, and how do we anticipate it, or how is the government perhaps anticipating this particular variant during this Ramadan season? Of course, it'll feature homecoming later as well.
Yeah, I just want to add what I already explained before, that beside there is no limitation on the activities at the players' room or at the restaurant, but still when you do check in the public venue, you have to have the green color in your Peduli Lindungi, and it means that you are not COVID, and the second one, you already complete your vaccination up to the second shot. So that's two things that we need to remind, that although we already have some lifted health protocol or any activities at the public, but still we have a certain criteria to conduct these activities. And regarding for the BA2, we are monitoring this kind of subvariant of Omicron, since we are learned from other countries, for example, in UK, in some of Europe country, and even at Hong Kong, we've seen that if the subvariant of BA2 replacing BA1 or BA1.1 Omicron, that cause of the high number of positive cases in the beginning of this year, during January, for the third wave, we've seen that by replacing the previous subvariant of Omicron, there is a correlation with the number of positive cases which are going up to. So we, of course, we will have a big ceremony this next month with the Ramadan and Eid al-Fitri, while we are still monitor the BA2 progression, because BA2 we learn from other country can increase the transmission rates, which means that it's more transmit compared to the BA1. So it means we have to prepare if there is more cases or more cluster during next month.
Right. So we do know that this is the third year that we have had to spend Ramadan in a pandemic. Many lessons were learned, Bu Nadia, throughout the past 2 years of Ramadan. And despite all the rules and regulations that the government have put in place, let's face it, some people are still bending or breaking some rules and still proceeding with homecoming.
Yeah.
Now that this year is vastly different, and we're allowing people to do their homecoming travels, and considering all the lessons learned from the last 2 years, what sort of policies and rules need to be in place for this particular year?
Well, I think what we try to protect and to prevent the possibility of the increasing case is we implies the criteria for the mudik for getting the third vaccination, what we call it booster. So we are really strengthening this policy, that if you want to have mudik activities, you have to be prepared. That's why the government already announced this policy even before the Ramadan and the mudik periods itself, because we would like to have we would like to have the for us, if you want to plan for mudik, that you have to get this third shot before you conduct this mudik activity. Why we take this policy? Because although we know that currently most our people already have complete their vaccination, but still during Omicron wave, there is still a certain population that have a risk on the transmission. For example, the one who have a comorbid, and then the one who have the one the older the elderly people. So this kind of two groups need to be have high protection. While we know that during Mudik, it's almost like 18 million people are move with the same time from every places, and they are going to many places too. So with this high interaction, the possibility to get infected is very high. So that's why with the third shot, we will to have more protection, and then it will increase our immune, including to protect the vulnerable groups that I already mentioned for the one who have the comorbid and elderly.
By the way, Bu Nadia, is there a deadline for these boosters? I mean, we do know that after we get a shot, it takes a little bit of time for our bodies to adjust. Is there a deadline for if they're going to have to get a third shot or a booster before the time that they're allowed to make their homecoming travels?
No, currently we don't have any timeline for the booster. But as soon as you already target, or you already allow to get the third vaccination, it's very good if you can go to the vaccination center as soon as possible.
So I guess you follow your ticket. Continue to check your Peduli Lindungi app, guys. And if you have your ticket, that means that you are eligible, and you can just go and check to your nearest vaccination.
For me, it's just, Bu Nadia, sorry, but this is the conclusion for me to wrap up. What you've mentioned, that the protection is very important, but we know that, during these homecoming 2 years in a row, there's always been a wave, and perhaps this year we're a lot better protected. But do you think that the current state of vaccination rates we have in Indonesia will prevent us from, high hospitalization rates like 2 years and like the past 2 years that have crossed? Because last year the Delta variant was very, very, I can only say in normal terms, scary to see the numbers that, hospitalization rates that happened afterwards. Do you think we're ready to, the kind of infection, but with less, less severe, severity than last year?
I think when government decided to allow homecoming or mudik to be allowed in this 2022 Idul Fitri, of course, we already consider this situation. From the current information, for example, we know that like 87% of people in Indonesia, they already have the antibody, which means at least they have some protection.
Yes.
And with that, with increasing of number of the vaccination rate and the coverage of the vaccination, currently just like 57% out of the total population already have the second shot. That's why we would like to have the third shot in increasing the protection. Although we are aware that there might be number of cases that will be increasing, but still we can manage the number. So although some certain group will need, or we might need some hospitalization, I think our health facilities are already prepared for that condition. But the most important that we as an individual need to have a strong protection, because the risk of the transmission is very high, and we are still in the pandemic.
That was the conclusion statement that we all needed to know. The government is ready, and hopefully we are too.
Yep, Ramadan's coming up this weekend, Bu Nadia, so we do hope that we get another update from you. And in the meantime, do stay safe, enjoy the rest of your week, and it was great talking to you again.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bu Nadia.
Don't forget to get booster.
Absolutely.
Done.
Done.